22-year-old man walks into a D&D Discord server full of teenagers. He starts flirting with every girl he meets. He describes his female character's breast size in her introduction, and when someone's backstory involves childhood trauma, his first reaction is to sexualize it. So one player decides to do something about it. They create a fake 16-year-old girl, an awesome cheerleader named Ella, the perfect bait, and Howard, being Howard, swallows it whole. This story takes place on a West Marches Discord server. For those who don't know, West Marches servers are basically open-world D&D communities. Multiple DMS run one-shots in a shared setting, players drop in and out as their schedules allow. It's accessible, it's flexible, and it attracts a wide range of people, including, unfortunately, the wrong kind of people. Howard was 22 years old. He played an assassin rogue wood elf named Fulrid, complete with a convoluted backstory involving childhood conscription, a cult, and his sister's soul trapped inside an amulet. He had a pet raven. He also had a magical split personality called White, who would emerge whenever Howard got angry, going completely feral and threatening to kill people, and once even attacking Op's character when they brought him to a temple for help. Now, edgy backstories are one thing. Every D&D table has had at least one brooding loner with a tragic past, but the split personality that conveniently activates whenever you don't get your way, that's not a character concept. That's a built-in excuse to be an asshole without consequences. The first time White came out was during roleplay between sessions. A drow tavern owner told Fulrid off for invading her personal space, her and her girlfriends, and for his constant need to be mothered by everyone around him. Howard responded with extremely passive-aggressive out-of-character comments aimed at both her and at the original poster, who was just standing there trying to get a bento box from the kitchen. Let me repeat that. A player's character told his character to respect boundaries, and his response was to lash out at the real people behind those characters. That's not role-playing, that's not immersion, that is someone who cannot distinguish between a fictional rejection and a personal attack, and it only got worse from there. A separate Discord server was created specifically to share memes about Howard's behavior. That's how bad it was. Not a complaint thread, not a whisper network, an entire server. After Fulrid's in-character girlfriend left the server, Howard developed a crush on literally every female character he encountered. He made creepy out-of-character comments about other people's characters. He called one of Op's friends NPCS, and I quote, the town's next public urinal, because that NPC had an active sex life. Then he made a second character, a female Dampier named Nicolette. As Nicolette, he would constantly announce in character that she was a girl and a vampire, over and over. That was her entire personality. She existed to be sexualized. At one point, Howard literally listed her breast size in her character description. Double DS, naturally, because why wouldn't they be? Because subtlety was never Howard's strength. This is what passed for character creation in Howard's mind. Not motivations, not goals, not flaws, cup size. This is a D&D server with minors on it. And this man is writing fetish material and calling it a character sheet. Everyone could see what he was doing, but nobody had enough evidence to take action yet. Things spiraled during a private message exchange between Fulrid and another player's female character. This character confided in Fulrid that she had been continuously assaulted as a child. It was a heavy, vulnerable moment of character backstory. Howard's first out-of-character reaction was, and I need you to brace yourself for this one, or she's not a virgin, sad face. Oh well, Nicolette can fix that. I want you to sit with that for a moment. A player shares a backstory about childhood trauma, and this man's immediate response is to sexualize it. Not sympathy, not discomfort, not even awkward silence. He went straight to a joke about magically restoring virginity using the regenerate spell. He thought a broken hymen meant losing your virginity, and that healing it would somehow undo the trauma. That's not just ignorant. That is a window into how this person thinks about women, about consent, and about the bodies of other people. And it was at this exact moment that Op started forming a plan. Op had already left the server by this point, partly because of Howard, partly for other reasons they didn't want to disclose. But even after leaving, they couldn't stop thinking about the server, about the minors still on it, about what Howard might be doing in private messages that nobody could see. And their fears weren't unfounded. Howard had already been inappropriate with at least one minor on the server, a male friend of Op's. The conversation had started normally enough, but Howard steered it into a fantasy about Op's friend being a boss at some company and getting oral sex under his desk. The friend was clearly uncomfortable. Howard was persistent. So Op decided to build a trap. They created a fake identity. A a 16-year-old girl from Nevada named Emily. They chose Nevada specifically because the age of consent there is 16, knowing that this would prevent Howard from getting scared off while still being deeply illegal on Discord, where the age of consent is 18 regardless of state law. This is the part where you realize Op wasn't just angry. They were methodical, they studied Howard, they knew his type. Elvish women, angels, bubbly personalities, so they built exactly that. Emily's D&D character was an Arsamer who looked like a half-elf, a divine soul sorcerer/bard named Ella. She was a cheery, excitable cheerleader type who loved gardening and singing. Basically, Howard's dream girl, engineered from the ground up. Op changed their typing style to be grammatically perfect. They used emojis constantly. They swapped the time zone on their phone to match Nevada. They told nobody, not even their closest friends on the server, what they were doing. Only their boyfriend knew. And then they posted Ella's character reference art. Howard's response was immediate.